$17 for 1 kilogram of bananas? I couldn't help but shriek. Are you kidding me? The Australians in the produce section of the supermarket, most of them 30-something mothers with multiple children in tow, looked at me strangely. Perhaps my tangled hair, smeared makeup, and wrinkled clothes disturbed them. I had, after all, landed in Brisbane a mere 2 hours earlier. Perhaps I had spoken too loudly. I tend to do that when I'm exhausted, or perhaps it was my accent. The southern drawl was more pronounced that evening than it had been in years. I was tired, hungry, broke, and homesick, and I wanted a banana. After the floods, fires, cyclones, and other natural disasters Queensland had experienced earlier in 2011, produce wasn't as readily available as it had been in previous years. That led to a steep price hike. The locals had gotten used to outrageously expensive produce, though I wasn't the only one who gasped every time I saw a dollars per kilo sign. But I was a newcomer. More than that, I was used to paying 39 cents a pound for bananas at the grocery store near my home. I finally got a banana about a month later at the West End markets, which were 2 blocks from my house. It was a day with such heavy rains and frequent flash floods that the vendors had to use boats to tow their produce back to their vans. Shoppers jumped from crate to crate, desperately hoping not to fall into the murky 2-feet-deep water. Nobody was particularly happy about being there, and the vendors wanted to go home. To do that, they had to sell all their produce. So they cut the prices by a lot. The week before, bananas had cost $11 per kilo, even at the cheapest stall. That day, though, they were $2.50. I bought 13 bananas that rainy Saturday morning, and I ate them all in less than a week. Until that rainy Saturday morning, I had been grumpy about trying new fruits. Passion fruit, custard apples, chocolate pudding fruit, no joke, star apples and rock melon were too weird for my finicky palate, which longed for the 2 bananas I had casually tossed in the bin before I went through customs in Sydney, and I refused to try them. But after I had had my 13 bananas, I was ready to be adventurous. Every Saturday morning for the next 3 months, I walked into the markets, chatted with the vendors and the other shoppers, and bought a little bit of everything. It was marvelous. At the markets, I could support local farmers, make friends with people I wouldn't otherwise have met, learn about how to cut a certain fruit, and what part of it to eat, which is a skill more important than I had realized, and find produce I couldn't dream of buying back home, all of it exotic, high quality, and cheap. I had more fun grocery shopping in Brisbane than I ever have at home. The markets weren't just a place to buy cheap food, they became a fundamental part of my lifestyle. If bananas had cost $2 a kilo when I got to Brisbane, as they had 2 weeks before my arrival, I wouldn't have gone to the markets. I probably never would have tried passion fruit or nashi pears, and I certainly wouldn't have tried custard apples, star apples, or chocolate pudding fruit. But I'm glad I did. Even if the chocolate pudding fruit looked sketchy and had a funky texture, I'm glad I tried it. Because it's Australian. And contrary to what I might have thought, I didn't go to Brisbane just to study. I went to learn what it means to be Australian. I learned every Saturday morning at the West End markets.